On Friday, we told you about a study from the University of Michigan to give some perspective on President Biden's ambitious climate change goals. That research from 2020 found that cutting back how much red meat people eat would have a drastic impact on harmful greenhouse gas emissions. The data was accurate, but a graphic and a script incorrectly implied that it was part of Biden's plan for dealing with climate change. That is not the case.
This is Fox News host John Roberts issuing a correction for having lied about Biden's so-called climate requirements that included cutting 90% of red meat from your diet, limiting your red meat intake to 4 pounds per year, and only eating 1 burger a month. He even posted a convenient little graphic that duly went viral across right-wing media. And something tells me the correction won't exactly get the same attention as the original incorrect information did. But hey, that's the point, right? Now, this all began when Biden pledged at a virtual climate summit that the U.S. would cut its greenhouse gas emissions by 50% compared to 2005 levels by 2030. But because right-wing media is incapable of arguing anything in good faith, what with the fact that they're easily on the wrong side of all of these issues, they decided to completely manipulate Biden's position and offer the worst faith interpretation humanly possible, which is how we got here, to Republicans claiming that Biden's taking away your hamburgers. And if you're wondering where all of this came from, it's an article from British outlet The Daily Mail titled "How Biden's Climate Plan Could Limit You to Eat Just 1 Burger a Month, Cost $3,500 per year per person in taxes, Force You to Spend $55,000 on an electric car, and crush American jobs." Because where else would Fox News be getting their news about the White House than from a gossip tabloid headquartered on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean? The article says Biden announced the goal to cut emissions by 2030 compared with 2005 levels at the start of a 2-day climate summit on Thursday. He vowed the plan, which would set the U.S. on a path of a zero-emission economy by no later than 2050, would create jobs and boost economies. And here's where they took plenty of artistic license, because the article continues, the plan immediately sparked criticism from Republicans and industry experts who argue it isn't sustainable in the long run, will put jobs at risk, and cause tax hikes for Americans. While Biden hasn't released details on what life could look like for Americans, experts in recent studies have laid out what would need to change by 2030 to reach the goal, and they posted graphics like this one. Look familiar? And then the article says Americans may have to cut their red meat consumption by a whopping 90% and cut their consumption of other animals based in foods in half. Gradually making those changes by 2030 could see diet-related greenhouse gas emissions reduced by 50%, according to a study by Michigan University Center for Sustainable Systems. To do that, it would require Americans to only consume about 4 pounds of red meat per year, or 0.18 ounces per day. It equates to consuming roughly 1 average-sized burger per month. But here's the thing about these findings by the University of Michigan. It's from an academic paper from 2020 that is not about Biden and says nothing about the government imposing dietary limits. In fact, Biden wasn't even president when this paper was written. The paper found that if Americans made a 50% cut to their consumption of animal-based foods and a 90% cut to their consumption of beef in particular, in other words, if they went down to 4 pounds of beef per year, there would be a 51% reduction in diet-related U.S. greenhouse gas emissions between 2016 and 2030. Now, I don't know who needs to hear this, but an academic paper suggesting that greenhouse gas emissions would be reduced if Americans hypothetically ate 90% less beef doesn't somehow mean that Joe Biden's going to force Americans to eat 90% less beef. It's someone's research paper, not a policy from the President of the United States. And yet that didn't stop those on the right from treating it as if it was. Take a look at some of the people who helped spread this brazen lie. Lauren Boebert tweeted, "Joe Biden's climate plan includes cutting 90% of red meat from our diets by 2030. They want to limit us to about 4 pounds a year. Why doesn't Joe stay out of my kitchen?" Texas Governor Greg Abbott tweeted, "Not going to happen in Texas." Idaho Governor Brad Little tweeted, "Idahoans also have beef with this agenda and for dinner." Here's Fox News host Jesse Waters repeating the claim on Fox.
In order to reduce emissions to hit Biden's target. That means you're only allowed to eat 4 pounds of red meat a year. That adds up to a burger a month. That's it.
But at the end of the day, let's just be honest. Fox News and Republicans know that they're propping up a straw man, but the point is to whip their viewers and their base into a frenzy with BS claims, knowing full well that their retractions won't be seen by a fraction of the people who saw the original claims. And so they'll spread scary graphics with pictures of hamburgers and let it ride across the entire internet, only to show up the next week in a display of journalistic integrity and issue a correction like any responsible journalist. The fact is that their goal is to lie to the people who trust them, because they have nothing but contempt for for those same people. Their audience is only marks to them, ripe for exploitation. What matters isn't the truth, it's just being able to throw red meat to the base, literally and figuratively. To see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. And for a deeper dive, check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I discuss the week's top stories and interview major players in the world of politics, like Vice President Kamala Harris, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, Katie Porter, Pete Buttigieg, Nancy Pelosi, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.